Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK back at you with another video here, trading the 6-game League of Legends main slate on Friday. A couple things before I get into the video. If you're new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos talking about NBA, NFL, XFL, and now esports for daily fantasy sports. Before I get into the video, I just want to say I hope you guys are all staying safe, staying healthy in these tough times. Just trying to stay positive. And again, right now, looks like we're not going to have sports for a little bit. So I've been grinding out some esports recently, watching a lot of CSGO, a little bit of League of Legends here. I just uploaded my video for the Friday slate for CSGO. If you guys are interested in that, that is up on my channel. This video will be for League of Legends main slate here on Friday. Again, I'm by no means an expert at this, but what I can do in this video is show you guys winning lineups. We see a lot of 4-3 stacks or 4-2-1 stacks. Talk about that in a little bit here, but we can go over that in a sec. First, let's go over the scoring and kind of how the game works. Basically, two teams, and you get points for kills. And the objective is to basically destroy the enemy's team base. Now, you play on the same map. There's like a top lane, a mid lane, there's a jungle lane, there's a support player, there's an ADC player, more like an attack player. He's the player that usually gets the most fancy points. It's a little bit much to watch, I'm not going to lie. When you first watch it, there's a lot going on. But that's kind of how the game works. Again, the objective is to get to enemy's base and destroy the enemy's base. Again, here's fantasy points, 3 points for a kill, 2 points for assists, -1 for a death, 0.02 for a creep score, 10 points for a 10 or more, or 2 points bonus for 10 or more kills or assists. And then as far as teams stats go, you do have to draft at least one team. You can get points for getting a turret, dragon, baron, first blood, win, and win in under 30 minutes. Now, what we've seen is you basically have to, in these 4-3 stacks or 4-2-1 stack, your team has to win. Unless it's like a really small slate, like a 2-game slate where like a mid player and the losing team kind of have a decent game. But the stack that you go with, again, we see a lot of 4-3 stacks and 4-2-1 stacks. Your team has to win. So we'll go with some Vegas odds. That's what I'm relying upon heavily, just because, again, I'm by no means an expert at this. But okay, let's first go and look at recent slates and see what the winning lineups were. So this was from April 1st. This was the winning lineup in the big tournament, the 50K to first. It was a, it was a 4-3 stack. So they picked 4 players from one game, 3 players from another. Obviously, those two teams won. So again, we're going to see a lot of that. You're going to want to go with a 4-3 or a 4-2-1 stack, kind of dependent on salary. The slate, or the winning lineup in the slate today, I guess, it was 2 a.m. The slates start at 2 a.m. Eastern. It was a 4-2-1 stack. They had, 4 players from this game, 2 players from that game, and then 1 from a one-off. So we see basically how you're going to want to build your lineups is, again, either a 4-2-1 or a 4-3 stack. And winning is really, really important. You're hardly ever going to see a losing team player put up a big score. So let's now look at the Vegas odds. So there's LCK and LPL. Both I guess, leagues are in this slate. There's 3 games from each league. All right, but let's look at the Vegas odds, right? So Gen.G Esports versus Sandbox Gaming. Gen.G, huge favorites, right? There's a lot of huge favorites on the slate. So Gen.G -1800 to win. Then we have T1 versus Griffin. T1 -4000. The last one here, AF versus Donwan Gaming. That one's almost a pick'em. And then in the LPL, Edward Gaming versus Dominus Esports. Edward Gaming -500. Invictus Gaming is -5000 to win over Victory Fire. Huge favorites. And Royal Never Give Up versus eStar. This one's an interesting game because eStar is a team that's been putting up huge points. But this one should stay close, so a little bit risky. But if eStar can pull out the win, you're going to want some eStar players on your roster. So what I did here, That's basically the Vegas odds. Also, this guy, you're going to want to follow him on Twitter, Kenzie131. He will tweet out starting lineups for the LPL. We already have him out here for the slate for tonight, so that is a good follow. Just if you're curious to see if some teams do kind of switch out a player here and there, but most of the time we do see the same player starting. So that is an important follow there on Twitter. This guy Kenzie131. Okay. So what I did here is we're gonna go over the rosters here for the 4 favorites, right? So these are the 4 huge favorites as far as Vegas has it, right? Gen G, T1, Edward Gaming, and then Invictus Gaming. So a lot of the winning lineups we've seen are a stack with a huge, like a big favorite, and then maybe like a slight underdog or like a pick'em, right? So you're going to want to stack probably one of these 4 teams, either again a 4-3 or a 4-2-1. You're going to want some players. You want to pick one of these teams and stack them, right? Whether it be 3 players, whether it be 2 players, whether it be 4 players. You're going to want one of these huge favorites you're going to want some exposure to, and then we can get kind of to the these are the 2 games that are expected to stay really close. We'll talk about those 2 in a bit here. Yeah, like I said, they do have fantasy points per game right here. That's kind of what we can go off of, right? They do, if you click on each player, they do have the individual stats with like kills, assists, deaths, the CS score. So if you're curious, you can look in there. There are, here, let's go to, let's see. Okay, so this is a good example, right? A win, a 2-0 win, 49 fantasy points, a 2-0 win, 68 fantasy points, a 2-0 win, 92 fantasy points, an 0-2 loss, 2 fantasy points. So it is pretty important to pick a winning team. That's why, again, I think it's pretty critical to pick one of these favorites and get some exposure here. Again, you don't want to get one-offs unless you're doing a 4-2-1. You're going to want to stack here, whether it be a 4-3 stack or a 4-2-1 stack. So, these are, again, I have all the players listed here for the favorites. Make sure the guy you're considering playing is actually going to play, right? So for T1 here, we have Canna and Roach. Canna has been playing in all the recent games, right? So I assume almost positive he's going to play, whereas Roach is a guy that hasn't played since February 7th. So make sure when you're clicking on these players, make sure they've played games, right? Or they've played recently. If they haven't played since like February, they're not going to play. So again, that's just a little tip there. Make sure, again, so like EDG, right? They have 2 players listed here. Gino hasn't played since January, so don't play him, right? So you got to be a little bit careful. Make sure the player you're thinking about has played recent games here, which would be on those. Actually, Zhao Zhang is also someone who is probably not going to start here. AODI is the guy that has played recently. He's probably going to be the starter there. Again, this Twitter account you're going to want to follow them for starting lineups. So yeah, if we're just looking at fantasy points per game, I think AODI right here, 65.7 fantasy points per game at 6.8K, about the same as the top 2 guys, but you're getting him at a slight discount. I think he's a pretty solid play right now. He's someone I'm definitely looking at right now for the top lane. Again, it's all kind of dependent though on which team you want to go for, right? So if I'm playing AODI, then I'm going to want some other exposure for EDG as well. But let's move on to the jungle position. So again, they have some teams do have 2 players, so sort of make sure the player that you're considering has played recently, right? So Leon is a guy that is going to be playing, whereas Ning hasn't played, well, in about a week or so. So I guess there is an off chance. That's why it is important to try to look this up on Twitter. There's not a whole lot of information, but this guy, again, this Kenzie guy is going to tweet out the LOL starting lineups. But yeah, like I said, you can kind of just go with what team you want to stack, right? So if I'm looking at AODI for EDG, then maybe I'm looking at pairing him with Junjia. Again, I'm probably going to botch a lot of these pronunciations, but that's kind of the strategy here, right? So again, I think you pick one of those four favorites, stack them, and then pair them with either slight underdog or even money line team. Mid and ADC, these are the two positions that usually score the most fantasy points. So don't think I want to go with value in either of those spots. So yeah, I definitely would recommend paying up for probably ADC and mid positions. Support is a position that you can usually save some money at. So that's generally where I'm going to try to spend down, as well as the team. Spot is also a lower salary as well. Okay, so again, I think you go with one of those four heavy favorites, get some exposure there. So that's kind of it for that. Then let's talk about E-Star first. So E-Star versus RNG, they are, it's expected to be a pretty close game here. Let's see. Where is it? Here we go. So E-Star is minus 140. So again, it's almost a pick'em. Royal Never Give Up is even money line. So if we compare ES versus the rest of the teams in the slate, ES is basically on the top of almost every single position here. So that's really interesting. They are a really, really high scoring team. So if you fade ES and ES ends up winning, you're going to be in tough shape, right? So this is a spot where you can fade. I think ES is probably going to be pretty popular just because, again, a guy like Cryan, right? He's putting up huge fantasy points, huge in wins. But again, in an 0-2 loss, he puts up 32. So that's why it's crucial to get a win. But he's basically, even in like a loss, and like a 1-2 loss, he's still put up 73 fantasy points. So yeah, again, winning is huge in this in League of Legends. If you pick a player that's on a losing team, you're probably not going to cash. That's why E-Star is a little bit risky, but again, they have huge upside if they do pick up this win. So fade at your own risk, right? I got like Cryan at the top. If we just compare him to the rest of the mid players, right? He's at 101.8 fantasy points, where the next highest is 79. So yeah, as I said, E-Star is a team that does stand out, but they are very expensive too. So it makes roster construction a little bit tricky if you're going to go with one of those favorites and then try to fit in some E-Star players, because then you're going to have to really spend down. So you could, what you could do is maybe stack E-Star, get like 3 or 4 from E-Star, run it back with like a one-off on one of those favorites, and then get some value on like an even money line team or a game that should stay close, right? So if you think RNG wins, that's where you can get some value, right? Compared to E-Star, they are all the players are about like $1,000, $2,000 discounts. So that's an interesting strategy too. Again, E-Star is a team that's put up huge points, but RNG still has a chance to win this game. And if they win, we've seen they have upside too, right? Like they can have players get into the hundreds as well. So this is a game that I think is crucial. You're going to want to end up on the right side of that, whether it be with RNG or E-Star. Hopefully you get lucky and pick the winning team there. The last game here, AF versus DWG. This one should also stay somewhat close. Let's see, where's the money line here? Minus 145 to plus 110. So that's almost a pick 'em. This is another game where, again, some players they do have upside in games that win. A lot of losses here recently, but let's go to a win, a 2-1 win, 84 fantasy points, right? So you could get some value here in this game, getting on the right side of that. But yeah, I think that's basically it. Again, guys, as you can tell by the video, I am by no means an expert. I'm just going off of studying the top players for DFS and what their roster construction is. Again, we see a lot of 4-3 and 4-2-1 stacks. I think what you want to do is get some exposure to one of those heavy favorites. And then, that RNG versus E-Star game is going to be big. If E-Star comes up on the winning end, it's going to be tough if you don't have any of their players. And then AF versus DWG game, another game that should stay close. You can get some value there as well. Um, but yeah, hopefully did a decent job at explaining that. Again, this game, if you guys are not familiar with it, you can watch it. It's a little bit much. Again, there's a lot going on. I'm still trying to get used to it as well. Um, but yeah, like I said, if you're new to this, like kind of like myself, right? Everyone's been playing here for a little bit under a week. Take it easy. Kind of study the players at the top who win money, and study their lineups. Right? What are they doing? How are they building their lineups? Right? That's kind of what I've done. Right? I'm looking at the winning lineup and seeing what they do. It's 4-3 stacks, it's 4-2-1 stacks. You're going to want a team that wins, right? Picking players from a losing team is almost impossible to cash. So, again, that's why I think you pick one of those heavy favorites, get some exposure there, and then those two games at the end here that are kind of even money line games that do have some upside there as well. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you have been enjoying the content, would really appreciate if you'd like this video and subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, hope you guys, again, all stay safe, stay healthy. I'll be back for another video. Again, I have a CSGO lineup up already for Friday's slate. I'll probably have a video up for possibly the Saturday slate as well, so be on the lookout for that. Thanks again for everyone to come and check the video. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you guys all later.